David Muir, ABC's World News Tonight, America's most watched newscast. Now streaming same day with all the breaking news of the day on Disney+. Most watched, most trusted. Now on Disney+ every night.
Tonight, breaking news. Late today, authorities on this deadly runway collision at LaGuardia Airport. Late today, ABC News obtaining the chilling new video. The passenger plane crashing into that fire truck. That truck had just been given the clear to cross the runway. Then an air traffic controller trying to get the truck to stop.
Stop, truck one. Stop.
The two pilots both killed. A flight attendant reportedly found ejected from that plane, still belted into a seat. Passengers turning to help each other off that plane down the wing. More than 40 rushed to the hospital. The two firefighters in that truck surviving raced to the hospital with broken bones. And what we've now learned tonight about those final moments, how fast that plane was going at impact. Gio Benitez live at LaGuardia Airport. Also tonight, hundreds of ICE agents have now been deployed to more than a dozen airports across the U.S. The president sending them amid these growing TSA security lines. Day 38 now of this shutdown, TSA workers going without pay. Tonight, TSA workers and passengers, some waiting 6 hours in line, saying lawmakers should come up with a solution to pay the workers. Why President Trump tonight is telling Republicans not to make a deal. Tonight, the war in Iran, President Trump and his threat to attack Iran's key electrical plants. The president now says he'll give Iran 5 more days. He says the U.S. and Iran are now talking. Tonight, Iran denying any talks are taking place, with gas prices here in the U.S. now up more than $1. Tonight, the young university student shot and killed while walking with a group of her friends. Tonight, a suspect now charged. Homeland Security saying he is in the country illegally. The horrific images tonight, multiple ambulances from a Jewish volunteer service set on fire. The explosion outside a synagogue, and tonight the surveillance of potential suspects. Tonight, the heartbreaking loss, a well-known NHL reporter and mother of 3. She and her children killed in a house fire. Police releasing that body camera video of Justin Timberlake's DWI arrest. Tonight, what he can be heard saying on that video. The meteor streaking across the sky, crashing right through the roof of a home here in the U.S. And tonight here, we remember an actress known for her role in the original Superman movie.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening. We begin tonight here with that horrific crash at LaGuardia Airport, the deadly collision on the runway, an Air Canada Express passenger jet slamming into a fire truck. That fire truck had been given the okay to cross the runway. Late today, ABC News obtaining this chilling video here showing the moment that passenger jet crashed into the truck on the runway, moments after touching down. And tonight, audio from the air traffic control tower suggesting a controller in those final seconds urgently tried to then get that truck to stop. He could be heard saying stop over and over again. The two pilots killed, a flight attendant reportedly still strapped into the jump seat, ejected onto the runway. More than 40 passengers rushed to the hospital. The two firefighters in that truck surviving, raced to the hospital too with broken bones. Tonight, the NTSB on the scene, preliminary data showing the plane was going up to 105 miles per hour just before impact. With the pilots dead and the flight attendant ejected from the plane, passengers turning to one another to help each other, describing the chaos and escaping down that wing. ABC's Gio Benitez leading us off tonight from LaGuardia Airport.
Tonight, horrifying surveillance footage posted online shows the moment an Air Canada Express jet slammed into a fire truck as it crossed the runway at New York's LaGuardia Airport. The NTSB now on the scene, poring over the mangled wreckage of the first deadly crash at LaGuardia in more than 30 years. It happened at around 11:40 p.m. after authorities say air traffic controllers granted a Port Authority fire truck permission to cross runway 4 to respond to a separate incident, a United Airlines plane reporting an odor in the cabin. Listen to Truck 1 talking with the tower.
Truck 1 and Company, LaGuardia Tower requesting to cross 4 at Delta.
Truck 1 and Company, cross 4 at Delta.
Truck 1 and Company crossing 4 at Delta.
But at that very moment, Air Canada Express Flight 8646 from Montreal was coming in for a landing on that very same runway. Listen to the controller trying to tell the truck to stop.
Stop, 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 truck 1, stop, stop, stop. Stop, truck 1, stop.
But it was too late. As that surveillance video posted to X shows, there was no time for the plane to stop or abort the landing. Preliminary data from Flight Radar 24 shows that the plane was traveling between 93 and 105 miles an hour at the moment of impact.
We were honestly sleeping and then landing, and then all of a sudden, boom, woke up in shock.
We were a couple rows behind first class, and everything at the front of the plane was pretty messed up.
Jet 646, I see you collide with a vehicle there. Just hold position. I know you can't move. The vehicles are responding to you now.
Passenger Jack Cabot shooting these video clips as passengers climb down off the wings. And in this short selfie video, you can see the moment the nose of the plane tipped upward. Watch again closely as the passengers move to the rear of the cabin to escape. One flight attendant was reportedly found outside the plane, alive and still strapped in their jump seat. Authorities confirming the pilot and co-pilot did not survive.
I want to extend my sympathies to the families of the two pilots. These were two young men at the start of their careers.
41 of the 72 passengers were taken to area hospitals, and inside that fire truck, 2 Port Authority officers surviving as well, taken to the hospital with broken bones. Listen to the air traffic controller speaking with a Frontier pilot who witnessed the collision, telling that pilot, "I messed up."
That wasn't good to watch.
Yeah, I know I was here. I tried to reach out to my staff, and we were dealing with an emergency earlier. I messed up.
No, man, you did the best you could.
This was a very busy night with a lot going on. The weather was bad. There was an emergency aircraft that the fire crew was trying to get to. It's not hard to see how a mistake could have been made.
And amid a nationwide shortage of air traffic controllers, Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy addressing reports that there was only one controller in the tower at the time of the crash.
I've heard the rumor that there was only one controller in the tower, and that's not accurate.
So let's bring in Gio Benitez with us live tonight from LaGuardia. And Gio, you reported there that flight attendant ejected from the plane, still strapped into their seat, the 2 pilots killed. And you think about all those passengers on board who had to work together to get themselves off the plane.
Yeah, David, they were essentially on their own. These passengers trying to figure out how to get off the plane, how to open those doors on their own. But David, we saw a real miracle here with that flight attendant who was ejected. Apparently, we're told she's going to be okay.
But that is good news. We're thinking about the families of those pilots and everyone on board, and the 2 firefighters as well in that truck. What a horrific scene, Gio. Thank you. There are also breaking developments tonight at airports across the U.S. Hundreds of ICE agents have now been deployed to more than a dozen airports. President Trump sending them in amid the growing TSA security lines. It's day 38 now of this shutdown. TSA workers still going without pay. Tonight, those TSA workers and passengers, some waiting 6 hours in line, saying lawmakers from both parties should come up with a solution to pay the workers, and why President Trump tonight is telling Republicans not to make a deal. Steve Osunsami at the airport in Atlanta.
While lawmakers in Washington tonight struggle to come up with a deal to end the partial government shutdown and end the long security lines at the nation's airports, federal ICE agents under orders of the president have started appearing in at least 14 airports, charged with helping move people through security checkpoints. They've certainly been visible in Houston, New Orleans, Cleveland, Phoenix, Atlanta, and Newark without the masks that bring complaints from their critics. But outside of crowd control, passengers say they aren't seeing much of a difference.
We're flying 12 o'clock.
Yeah, 12:30.
So you got here really early.
6 hours early.
Yeah.
People who are giving themselves several hours to get through security are still cutting it close or missing their flights, caught in lines, running out into the street. KTRK's Sarah Al-Sheikh is in Houston.
We're inside Bush Intercontinental Airport in Houston, where the line stretches down here to the basement and goes up 2 more floors to the TSA checkpoint. People telling us it's taking them about 5 hours to make it to that checkpoint.
The number of TSA officers without a paycheck who are no longer coming into work continues to grow. Around 40% calling out in New Orleans, Atlanta, and Houston Intercontinental on Sunday.
What I see ICE agents doing is helping TSA plug the holes of security.
But the union that represents TSA workers says that ICE can't really help move the lines because the agents aren't trained to work airport security.
ICE agents can't work enough a lane and work it.
Republicans had entertained the idea of reopening all of the Department of Homeland Security except for ICE and to fund that agency separately. But tonight, President Trump says make no deal unless you pass his Voter ID Act.
And I'm suggesting strongly to the Republican Party, don't make any deal on anything. The most important thing we can have is what's called the Save America Act. Don't make any deal on anything unless you include voter ID, and you have to be a citizen to vote.
But Democrats say they've offered to pay the TSA agents immediately, and that it's the ICE and Border Patrol agents who they want to bring changes to.
I honestly think that the politicians should just quit penalizing the people who are trying to do their job, and frankly, they shouldn't get paid until they get this straightened out.
TSA workers have now gone 38 days without a full paycheck and are having to make that work, and this standoff right now has no end in sight. David?
Yeah, that was something the passenger who told you, Steve, waiting 6 hours today. Steve, thank you. Now to the war in Iran tonight. President Trump and his threat to attack Iran's key electrical plants. The president is now giving Iran 5 more days, he says, saying the U.S. is now talking with Iran. Iran tonight saying they're not talking. Rachel Scott at the White House.
Tonight, President Trump backing away from his threat to attack Iran's key electrical plants, saying the two countries are now in talks to end the war.
We have had very, very strong talks. We'll see where they lead. We have major points of agreement. I would say almost all points of agreement.
But tonight, Iran insists, quote, no talks with the U.S. have taken place, saying any claims to the contrary are aimed at influencing financial and oil markets and distracting from the challenges facing the U.S. and Israel. Over the weekend, the president declared that if Iran did not open the Strait of Hormuz by tonight, the U.S. will hit and obliterate their various power plants, starting with the biggest one first. But President Trump now says he's giving Iran 5 days to make a deal, and that his son-in-law Jared Kushner and Mideast envoy Steve Witkoff are leading the talks. But the president won't say who in Iran they're talking to.
We're dealing with the man who I believe is the most respected and the leader. It's a little tough. We've wiped out everybody.
Is that the Supreme Leader?
No, not the Supreme Leader.
Still, the president telling reporters Iran has already agreed to an array of things.
You said there's many points of agreement with Iran right now.
Many.
What, can you give us a
Many,
few of those?
like 15 points. 15 points.
Iran has said yes.
Well, they're not going to have a nuclear weapon. That's number one. That's number 1, 2, and 3. They will never have a nuclear weapon.
They said yes to that?
They've agreed to that.
The president says if a deal happens, the Strait of Hormuz will be open, quote, very soon.
And who's in control of it? Will Iran still be able to control the flow of oil?
Be jointly controlled.
By who?
Maybe me. Maybe me.
You want the United States to be in
Me
control
and the Ayatollah, whoever the Ayatollah is, whoever the next Ayatollah. Look, and there'll also be a very serious form of a regime change.
President Trump insists that talks with Iran are underway, but Iran says that is not true, accusing the administration of just trying to calm the markets. What we do know is the president has now set a new deadline 5 days from now, David.
Watching this from the White House tonight, Rachel Scott, thank you. Tonight, all eyes, of course, on the Strait of Hormuz, that critical channel with the price of gas in the U.S. now up more than $1 since this war began. Matt Rivers from the region now.
Tonight, with Iran insisting there are no ongoing talks with the U.S. to end the war, the U.S. and Israel pounding new Iranian sites. The Pentagon says more than 9,000 targets have been hit since the war began.
We're largely ahead or on plan for our main military objectives.
But Iran's military defiant, still launching attacks.
Whoa.
This is the moment an Iranian ballistic missile slammed into the southern Israeli city of Dimona, near Israel's nuclear research facility, more than 60 people injured. And tonight, Iran claiming it still controls the critical Strait of Hormuz, choking the global flow of oil, threatening to mine the entire Persian Gulf if the U.S. or Israel attacks its coasts or islands. Jet fuel prices doubling, United Airlines now planning to cut some flights, and gas prices in the U.S. steadily rising, now at $3.96, surging more than $1 since the start of the war. David, the critical Strait of Hormuz remains effectively closed tonight amid serious concerns here in the Gulf over soaring energy costs. David?
Matt Rivers in the region for us. Matt, thank you. Back here in the U.S. tonight to the student from Loyola University Chicago who was shot and killed while walking with a group of her friends. A suspect tonight now charged in Homeland Security, now saying he is in the country illegally. Here's Rhiannon Ally.
It was a shocking crime. 18-year-old Sheridan Gorman, a freshman at Loyola University Chicago, was shot to death while walking with friends at a lakeside park. Tonight, an undocumented immigrant from Venezuela has been charged with her murder.
Over at the beach,
On Pratt, 1045 West Pratt, we got a person shot, and it's a Loyola student.
Officials say at 1 a.m. Thursday morning, the group walked onto a pier when a masked suspect emerged dressed in black. As the group fled, Gorman was shot in the back.
You should not be worried about walking to the beach and not expect to just get killed like that.
DHS says 25-year-old Jose Medina entered the country illegally in 2023. Gorman's family from Westchester, New York, saying in a statement, "This was a violent and preventable act. We are gravely disappointed by the policies and failures that allowed this individual to remain in a position to commit this crime." David, tonight the suspect has been hospitalized with tuberculosis and his first court appearance has been postponed. David?
Rhiannon Ally with us tonight. Rhiannon, thank you. Overseas tonight, the horrific images, multiple ambulances from a Jewish volunteer service set on fire in North London. Police say surveillance video shows multiple suspects setting fire to 4 Jewish volunteer ambulances. Those flames setting off an explosion outside a synagogue. Nearly all of the ambulances were completely destroyed. Counterterrorism police tonight now investigating the arson attack as a hate crime. Back here in the U.S., the stock market responding to news President Trump put this threat to target Iran's energy facilities on hold. The president saying these talks are underway. The Dow responding, starting the week jumping 631 points. The NASDAQ and S&P 500 posting gains as well. When we come back here tonight, the heartbreaking loss. A well-known hockey reporter, a mother of 3, killed in a house fire right along with her children, and what we've learned about that fire tonight. Also, police releasing body camera video, the DWI arrest of Justin Timberlake. You will hear what they asked him and how he responded. And then that video tonight, the Meteorite, streaking across the sky, crashing right through the roof of a home here in the U.S. A lot more news ahead. We'll be right back. Tonight, a longtime hockey reporter and her 3 children have been killed in a house fire. Jessi Pierce covered the Minnesota Wild for NHL.com for a decade. She had just posted these photos with her children on Friday. Saturday morning, neighbors calling 911. Firefighters finding Pierce's home in flames and 4 bodies inside, the mother and her children. Pierce's husband was out of town on business. A GoFundMe has now been set up to help him. There's no word on a cause of the fire. When we come back here tonight, we remember an actress from the original Superman movie and the police body camera video tonight. The DWI arrest of singer Justin Timberlake has been released, and what he can be heard saying to police in a moment here. To the index of other news tonight, Sag Harbor Police on Long Island releasing body camera video from the DWI arrest of singer Justin Timberlake. The officer can be heard asking him what he was doing in the area.
What are you visiting?
Yeah, I'm on tour.
What are you doing?
I'm on a world tour. I'm Justin Timberlake.
What's your name?
Justin Timberlake.
You are Justin Timberlake?
Yeah.
Timberlake submitting to a field sobriety test that night, refusing a breathalyzer. 3 months later, Timberlake pleading guilty to a lesser charge of driving while ability impaired. Tonight, a meteor streaking across the Texas sky, interrupting a Little League game near Houston on Saturday. Look at that. A piece of it smashing through the roof of Sherry James's home, puncturing the ceiling, landing right there on the floor in front of her. Tonight, we remember actress Valerie Perrine, nominated for an Oscar for the movie Lenny, playing the comedian Lenny Bruce's wife against Dustin Hoffman, and widely known for her role as the girlfriend of villain Lex Luthor in the 1978 Superman movie, at one point rescuing Christopher Reeve in that role. Valerie Perrine was 82. When we come back tonight, you have to see this, a little boy turning 4, and the call his family made to police in a moment. Tonight, their little boy was turning 4, and the friendly call they made to the police. Tonight in Colton, California, east of Los Angeles, a family's sweet call to the police department requesting help for their 4-year-old. It wasn't an emergency, but let's just say it was urgent. Ezra Galicia was turning 4, and all he wanted was a police-themed birthday party. He's always dressed up in his police uniform as an officer from his local Colton Police Department. And on the day of his party, his Aunt Elisa calling the police department and leaving them this message. Just listen.
My nephew's having a birthday party today, and it's a police theme. He's 4. I was just wondering if there's anybody patrolling, if they would be able to stop by just to say hi. I think he would really love that. He loves Colton Police, and he says he's going to work for Colton Police.
Just a short time later, look who showed up. The police squad cars, the flashing lights, the high fives and fist bumps for Ezra. Of course, he was dressed in his police uniform, giving him a toy squad car. And right here tonight,
hey, David.
Ezra, the birthday boy and police officer in training with his family.
Moments like this remind us how powerful it is when the community comes together, especially for our children. It makes our community stronger together.
And joining us too,
hi David,
Corporal Daniel Moreau and the team, of course, happy to answer that call.
We received a call about a young man who lives in the city of Colton who was always expressed an interest in being a Colton police officer. When we got that invite, we wanted to make sure we did everything we could to make that day even more special for him.
Incredible. The Colton Police Department and little officer Ezra ready for duty. I'll see you tomorrow. Good night.
David Muir, the most trusted anchor in America, the most watched anchor in America. Thank you for making World News Tonight with David Muir the #1 newscast in America.